Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and this is yet another of the beers that I brought back with me from my recent trip over there to my friend's wedding. So for this one we are going to go to the state of Iowa, which is where the wedding actually took place, up in Okoboji in the kind of northwestern part of the state. And for this one though we are going to go to Knoxville, which is a little bit to the southeast of the state capital, Des Moines. So we're having a taste of a beer from Peachtree Brewing today, and this one is their Red Rambler, which comes in at 5.8%, and as the name suggests, this one is an American style red ale. Now if you've watched the channel before, you will know that this is a style of beer that I really do quite like. I love my American Ambers and American Reds and Imperial Reds and stuff like this, but I don't get to review all that many of them actually. There's not too many of them actually are brought out in Europe these days. It does seem to be a style that's a bit more, a lot found in the west coast of America actually, and I have seen a few of them coming out from New Zealand recently as well. It doesn't seem to have caught on in Europe unfortunately, but I really wish it would in fact. But yeah, so looking forward to trying this beer. I think this is actually my first sit down review that I've done of a beer from Iowa that is not a Toppling Goliath beer, so that's another thing to note about this brewery, or this review in fact. But I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one, and hopefully it's a good beer. So yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Peachtree Brewing. The very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Peachtree Brewing then, on to my brewery notes quickly. So Peachtree Brewing, as I mentioned to you earlier, is based in Knoxville in Iowa, which is a little bit to the southeast of the state capital of Des Moines, and the company was founded back in 2009 by Megan Mackay. So apparently she was a car mechanic by trade, and she also worked as a nanny as well. She lived in California for a good period of time, but then she returned to Knoxville in 2001 and worked in her family's insurance company. She, her father Dan, and her then husband Scott Ziller wanted to create a company that would produce a local product that would bring in some local jobs and also kind of bring the community together. So for this they decided to settle on beer, but they had no expertise in this field whatsoever. So they decided to hire Joe Kestelut from Minnesota Brewery, and he actually has a bit of a pedigree in brewing Belgian beers from what I understand. But they put together this kind of core range that they have over the first couple of years of the brewery. But the tap room was officially opened in 2009 in an old Nash Rambler car dealership, and they only produced 10 gallons a time in the very early days, but they quickly scaled up after that. They realised that they needed to expand and gain distribution across Iowa, so the brew house was upgraded to a 20 BBL system in March of 2010, and little over a month later their first bottles came out as well, and of course they're quite distinctive with this little kind of stubby thing that they've got going on. But they now have a second location in the East Village district in Des Moines, and very recently they opened up another new location in Grinnell in Iowa as well. But the company name apparently comes from a historic tree that marked the line between tribes. Of course, you know, there was a lot of Native American activity in the Midwest, you know, once upon a time. But the stump from the peace tree can be found kind of popping its head out of the surface of the local Red Rock Lake, if you like. And Red Rock Lake's actually quite interesting. Again, it's a little bit to the kind of southeast-ish of Des Moines. There's a river that kind of runs through Des Moines from kind of northwest to southeast, and then there's this big lake down there, and from what I gather part of it is a reservoir that was created by a dam. I think that dam might have been built by the US Army engineers or something like that from back in the 1960s, if I'm remembering the Wikipedia thing correctly. But yeah, you know, Iowa, it's a nice state filled with nice people. The one thing I will say about it is that it was pretty flat. That was the only thing. It was really quite pretty, but it was just completely flat, and of course being Scottish and Swedish, you know, it's that's not something you're used to. You're mainly used to mountains here, although Skåne here in the south of Sweden is pretty flat compared to other parts of the country. But yeah, cool to find another brewery from Iowa. And like I say, one of the great things for Europeans about reviewing American beer is being able to try stuff from different states. So it was cool to be able to pick up this one and do an Iowa beer review for you that wasn't a Toppling Goliath. Nothing against them, but it's always cool to try different things. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. That'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the list of all the different beers on Untappd as well. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer. So I do surmise that this bottle of beer will probably be the most travelled, or the best travelled Peachtree Brewing bottle that there has been so far. You know, it came with me, it went back to Chicago, and then it flew back into Copenhagen, and now it's come over to Sweden with me as well. So probably the best travelled bottle of Peachtree Brewing beer there has been so far, and this is the 15th of August 2019 that I'm filming this one for you. So yeah, just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before you open up. There you can see the kind of movie classic American estate car in there. I'm not yeah, I don't know actually what kind of cars Ramblers were, but I mean the joke in Europe about the American cars is always that they were big and heavy, they burned a lot of fuel, and they were very good at driving in straight lines. But I think American cars have changed a little bit since then, but we do still tend to think that they drive cars with far too big engines over there. But that's, yeah, that's me, that's my fun at America poked at the moment. But anyway, but it says on the side here, since the brewery is located in what was once a Nash Rambler car dealership, it seemed appropriate to honour this history with a beer. The Red Rambler era is also one of the most popular in our tap room, with its deep red colour and malty flavour. The malt character is balanced with 3 varieties of hops. It is a versatile beer that can be enjoyed alone or pairs well with a broad spectrum of foods, especially flavourful meat, fish and cheese. So yeah, and it says serve at 8 degrees, so I've had it out of the fridge for about 15 minutes or so before I started filming. So it should be okay. It doesn't tell me on the bottle what thing. Oh, it's 12 fluid ounces, so I don't know what that is in metric. Maybe 300. I think it's like, I'm sure on most American bottles, when we get the imports over here, it's like 355 millilitres is 12 fluid ounces. So yeah, it does look as if it's somewhere in the region of like a 330 milliliter can. 330 milliliter can would be about less than that. I never understand where this whole cups and ounces and quarts and all of this shit that you get in America comes from. I really have no idea. The metric system makes a lot more sense. It's based on water. I always complain about that when I'm reviewing American beers. But there you can see, there's the little bottle cap on this one, and that will definitely be going into my collection. So yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Curious to see how this beer turns out, and I do have to compliment them on the bottle as well actually. Just look at that, the nice kind of carved glass and things like that. That's really pretty nice. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I actually can't remember what the last red ale would have been that I reviewed for you on the channel. I really cannot remember at all, so let's just see how much of this we're going to get in. That's the, yeah, we should be able to get all of it in. There we are. So yeah, this is a little tulip glass that I have from Stone Brewing, Berlin. But yeah, as you can see, it's actually poured. It's pretty much a perfect pour, that. So if I put this beer up to the light, it actually comes across as being like a very sort of murky, almost blood orange colour, this one. You can see there's a good finger, it's faded away a little bit, but you can see there was a good finger of a slightly sort of fawn coloured head on this one, a sort of beigey fawn kind of colour. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there, but overall it does look pretty nice. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider that it's an American red ale. It does, the other thing we could say about this one is that it probably does lean a little bit more towards the amber side of the spectrum, which again, the American amber and the American red, from what I gather, they are almost used as like synonyms. But in New Zealand, when I remember trying the beers down there, The red IPAs were definitely red. I think they were using a little bit of red rye and stuff in there to actually make them red. But you know, overall, it looks pretty much as you would expect from an American amber, American red sort of thing. So yeah, let's take a look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, that smells pretty good. So yeah, with the aroma on this beer, then I think you're getting the malt base is really well balanced for me. You can definitely smell a little bit of that sort of bready base, if you like a sort of white bready quality in there. It does have a little bit of an almost brown bready quality too. Definitely some nice kind of caramel notes in there. Quite a toasty brown sugar as well, actually, but a nice little bit of how would you say, like McVitie's digestive biscuits, or cookies as the Americans would call them. It definitely has a little bit of that cookie biscuity type quality to it. Biscuits to Americans, of course, are scones to us, the American biscuits. You've always got to be careful when you're doing these reviews. It's like, do I use original English or do I use American English? It's you have to watch that, yeah. But with this beer, it does lean towards the malty side of things, but you do get just that nice little touch of hoppy quality out of it too, which is great. So the malt base, like I say, white bread, a little bit of a brown bready quality on top. It almost has this little bit of a kind of German bread crusty note to it as well. It does remind me, I always loved German bakeries when I used to live there. Some of these American malts, I do suspect there might be two-row in here. Two-row malts have always reminded me a little bit of German bread. There's various different varieties of American two-row, but they always just have this, I've always found they have this nice smoothness to them, and they're just a little bit sweet as well. Whereas if you have German malts such as the Weirmann malts from Bamberg, they are always very, very smooth, and you can just pick out that smoothness in the aroma too. But for me, the malty base in this has a nice smoothness underneath, but it does have quite a good sweetness to it as well. So yeah, it's really nicely balanced. On top of that, of course, you're getting a nice little bit of activity from the hops. There's definitely a little touch of earthiness coming out there. For me, there's a wee bit of an orange quality as well. Maybe there's a little bit of Amarillo or something in here. I'm not quite sure about that. But you've got some red fruits too. You can pick out a little bit of a sort of figgy note. Maybe there's a little, I don't think there's any raisiny sharpness or anything to it, but maybe a little bit figgy. Almost like a kind of candied strawberry as well, to be honest. If you sugar the beer up a little bit, it gets more orangey and things like that. Could there be a little bit of cascade in here? Some of the aromas from the green side of the hops as well are making me suspect that there might be one of the German hops being used in here, you know, like Hallertau, Tettnanger, Perl, or something like that. Of course, the Americans have got Columbus, which is quite a popular bittering hop over there. I always like playing guess the hops with these beers, incidentally. But to me, the green side of the beer, it has a little bit of earthiness, definitely a nice little bit of floral quality as well, but it really is leaning more towards the grassy side of things, and that suits the fruity side of the beer as well, which, like I said, has a little bit of a kind of candied strawberry and figgy note, almost a little bit orangey too. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But let's have a taste of this one now and just see how we get on. This one is the Red Rambler, an American red ale coming in at 5.8% ABV from Peachtree Brewing in Knoxville in Iowa. So let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. That's nice, actually. I like how that's going together. It really is a really nice malty ale, this one. So thumbs up to Peachtree Brewing. It kind of reminds me of why I enjoyed this style so much. You know, the traditional Scottish beers, the Scotch ales, were always more malty leaning, and I think that's why I quite like it. I've always liked when IPAs and things like that have a nice malty balance to them, and this beer definitely has that. But yeah, that's pretty damn good, I have to say. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink that again. So for me, the first thing you're going to notice about this beer, across the middle of your palate, there's that nice sort of bready quality that I was talking about from the aroma. It's not quite as thick, to be honest with you, as I was expecting it would be. but it does just blanket the middle of the tongue quite nicely. And it's not as white bready. I thought there would be a good white bread kind of quality to this beer too. It definitely leans a little bit more towards that slightly grainier, wholemeal, brown bready quality, to be honest. And it does have that as you go further into the aftertaste, the middle of your palate definitely dries out a little bit, and it starts to lean towards that almost slightly toasty, charred bread crust. And I like that about this beer. That's good, yeah. Thumbs up on this one. I kind of wish I'd maybe got one or two of their other beers. I think there was a stout was in the shop that I was in as well, actually. I think there was a little bit of a... I think there was a stout, and there might have been a pale ale or something like that when I was there too. But of course, when I say I don't get to review too many red ales, so that was the reason I went for this one. But yeah, in terms of the malty side of this beer, I do think it's really nice. In the centre of the palate, you do get a nice little bit of a sweeter caramel in there, and as you move further out from that, it gradually gets a little bit more toasted and also a little bit more biscuity as well, which is quite nice. There's almost a little touch of a woody undertone to this beer too, which is great. So there's a good level of complexity in the malt base of this one for me. Yeah. So yeah, definitely a little bit sweet in the middle of your palate, and as you move further out from that, more biscuity. But like I said, when you move further into the aftertaste with this one, the centre of your palate dries out a little bit, and more of those kind of grainy qualities push their way out as well. On the hoppy side of things, at the back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of an earthiness there, which is nice. It's not overpowering, but there is a fair little bit of IBU presence there. But as you come further forward along the sides of your palate, it gradually moves to be a more kind of floral, aromatic kind of quality that's coming out of the beer. Then round the front curve of the tongue, you've got that lighter, grassy note coming out of the beer too. In terms of the flavour, I would say that the green side of the hops is leaning a little bit more towards the floral side of things. So in the aroma, leans more towards the grassy side, but in the flavour, it definitely leans a little bit more towards the kind of floral side of things. Now, on the fruity side of the beer then, as I always say, behind the front curve of the palate, behind the front curve of your tongue, you're going to get that little oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for me, there's a teeny little bit of sharpness coming out of this one, and I'm wondering maybe there's been a little touch of oxidation or something in there. I think, but it's quite minimal actually. You are still getting all the good flavours out of the beer, but I think there might have been a little touch of oxidation to this beer. Maybe the lid got opened a little bit on the flight back or something like that. But it's just very minimal. That we'll let it away with that. So yeah, at the front of the palate then, for me, there's a nice little touch of there's a little bit of a grapefruity note to it, so I wonder maybe there is a little touch of Cascade in here or something. When you come a little bit further forward on the palate, I think there's a little touch of, in that oily bubble I should say, back of it is definitely a little bit grapefruit. There's a little touch of an orangey quality in there as well, and then almost on the very front of the palate, that's where you start to get the kind of juicy figgy notes. It's maybe a little touch blackcurranty or blackberry-ish or something like that the further you go into the aftertaste. But like I say, there's a teeny bit of sharpness to this when you actually take it in, and I do the lid might have just been open just very slightly when I was flying back actually. Maybe that's what's happened here. But you know, overall in terms of flavour, this is a nice beer. I really like how the malt base is balanced in this one, so it gets a thumbs up from me. I think this would be even better on tap actually. The mouthfeel would just be that little bit thicker. So on that subject then, on the subject of the mouthfeel, I would describe this beer as being very much kind of mid-bodied. Yeah, mid-bodied. Carbonation's quite smooth in this one. It's got a good balance in its mouthfeel generally between being a little bit oily, which you want from a slightly maltier beer, and it's also got a little bit of that kind of wetter quality to it. You do want a level of crispness in there. In terms of hoppy bitterness, it does have a little bit actually, and I think the grains in the centre of the palate are contributing to that slightly as well. So if I was guessing the IBUs of this beer, I think we're talking somewhere around maybe 40 or 50 IBUs for this guy. Middle of your palate, as I say, it does have a degree of sweetness to it, but it dries out the further you go into the aftertaste, which is quite nice actually, and you've got a good little bit of a juicy fruity quality as well. But I mean, overall, this is a nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review it for you. So yeah, let's leave it at that. The Red Rambler. An American radio coming in at 5.6% ABV. In terms of the style generally, I would say that this one leans a little bit more towards the malty side of things. But overall, pretty good, this one. Not the sweetest of radios that I've come across, not the kind of fruitiest. It's just this one's definitely one that's all about the balance in the beers. So you know, if that's your kind of thing that you like from this style, I think this is one that will tick the boxes for you. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Peachtree Brewing as well, and I'm hopeful that I can return to these guys at some point in the future. It would be cool to try their IPA and their stout, of course, as well. I just went for this one because of the style that I really enjoy. But thank you again for watching. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Red Rambler, an American red at 5.8%, from Peachtree Brewing in Knoxville in Iowa. Slàinte, Skull, catch you guys very soon. Cheers.